Okay, so we've spoke at length about diodes, and we've looked at how a full wave rectifier changes an alternating current that's going in two different directions into a direct current which is only going in one direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a signal generator that's going to output an AC sine wave. Okay, we're going to go through a resistor, and this needs to be on here. I've got a 220 ohm. Alright, we need that resistor because LEDs will blow up if you put too much current in them. Alright, and then we're going to set up nope. I always get that fourth one mixed up. Maybe I didn't this time. Alright, so we're going to set up a full wave rectifier. Alright, but instead of using regular diodes, we're going to use LEDs. Okay? Alright, so what's going to happen is as this outputs a sine wave, it's going to be pushing and pulling back and forth. Okay, so imagine we're pushing this way. Okay, like this won't let it through. All right. Now when it gets over here, it's not going that way. It's just pushing. So it's pushing into this node. And when we're pulling, things can pull from here, right? But it's not pulling that way. So we're going to add another LED in the middle to see what's going on with all this pushing and pulling. So when it's pushing, it's going this way. When it's pulling, it's going this way. And so we're always pushing on this side and we're always pulling on this side. Alright, so you'll build this on a breadboard. The way you do a breadboard is you have, let's say, 5 dots, and they're all connected electrically. So if I put an LED in there and I put another LED in the same row, those are going to be connected. Okay, then I'll go over here and I've got 5 dots over here, and I'll connect it to whatever other terminal I want. Okay, what row you use doesn't really matter. I'll point those out in a second, but you're going to build this circuit here. Okay, so we've got the function generator. Alright, if it's not set up the way I have it right here, these are multiplier buttons. Okay, the first 3 are sine wave, square wave, triangle. We want it on square wave because we want it to snap back and forth so we can see it easier. On sine wave, Sine wave sometimes works. If it's not working on these, like, make sure to kind of jiggle your buttons. But the surest way to show what's going on will be either square wave or sine wave. Okay? So let's put it there. These buttons beside those are multipliers. When we're down in a low frequency, it doesn't really affect it all that much. But we want that on 1 or 10. Okay? That means that full turning up this frequency, that we're at 10 hertz, that it's happening 10 times a second. Okay? So let's put it on the 10 and turn down the frequency knob right here. Okay? Alright, so sine or square, 10. These are pads. Like, they kill some of the output voltage. If we push those, the voltage isn't going to be high enough for us to light up the LEDs. We want to turn all of these knobs down. They just change things like duty cycle, which is how long one part of the waveform is on compared to the other. So the only two knobs you really care about is this first knob and this last knob. When you first turn it on, make sure the amplitude is all the way down. Okay? And then you can start pulling it up until you get enough voltage that your circuit works. Okay? Like, we have voltage drops across those diodes, so we're going to have to get that voltage a little bit higher than we would with one LED. Okay? Now, don't assume that we don't have enough voltage here if none of this is working. Alright, so you're going to want to double check your circuit. So you're going to want this frequency knob probably less than a quarter of the way up. And what's happening is, as this changes direction, you got two different paths that is going into. Okay? So, what happens? Let's do it with the square wave. So that middle one is always on. Like the catty cornered ones, the ones that are at opposite ends, they're only conducting at half the waveform. But I want you to build this, take a little video of it, and I want you to take a little video of yourself describing what's happening. Okay? Now, notice that I'm not going directly into the LEDs. If I go directly into the LEDs, I will burn them up. So what's happening is I've got a resistor in one hole, and then I'm going to another hole. And then in that same hole, I have one leg of each of the top diodes. And then I go to another arbitrary hole, and I put what needs to be connected. So each one of these rows, those 5 holes, are electrically connected, but they're not connected to the other rows. So if you have a point that has a bunch of things that are connected in the circuit, make sure they're in the same row. Okay? So try to show there are 3 things that are connected up top: the resistor and 2 of the LEDs. Make sure that you got the polarity right. The cathode is going to be represented by the shortest leg, or if they're cut, there's also a flat part on the LED that you'll just have to look for, or feel for. Okay? Those are the cathodes. Make sure that you put them in like the schematic that we did. And hit me up if you have any questions. Okay? But this should aid in visualizing what's going on inside of there.